r/relationships. My F32 mother, F54, is contacting my friends to find out how to contact my therapist. How do I deal with her? My mother and I haven't had a good relationship since about the time I turned 13. My pet theory is I was developing into my own person and she couldn't handle the loss of control. She got more controlling, manipulative, and emotionally abusive in response, which I responded to by rebelling harder and harder. It was a vicious cycle. She spent most of the time telling me there was something wrong with me and trying to figure out what it was. She'd drag me to family counseling where I'd be asked again and again why I wanted to make my family miserable. My parents' nickname for me with their friends was Devil Daughter. She was constantly making me take personality tests, the Myers-Briggs one most often. She'd lecture me about how I don't deserve to have self-esteem because I had nothing to be proud of. Nothing I did was ever good enough, because even when it was, it wasn't something she thought was important. So I stopped talking to her and everyone else in my family. Not completely. I still lived with my parents and saw family regularly, but I kept my thoughts and interests to myself and limited conversations to pleasantries, which was easy because my mom sort of dominated any gathering she was at. This led to both my parents starting to pump any friend of mine they met for information about me. Her and my father would search my room while I was at school. One time I got home and they were sitting on the floor of my room reading my journal. She spent the rest of the day interrogating me about the contents. I spiraled hard after that. Drank a lot, used a lot of drugs, was very promiscuous with much older men. It went on until I was in my late 20s and tried to kill myself. That was when I finally got help and could start sorting myself out. I had no idea my family was a huge part of the problem until I'd been in therapy for a year and a half. My BF called me this morning to tell me he'd just gotten a call from my mom. She found out I'm seeing a therapist and she was begging BF to give her my doctor's contact information so she could tell him the problem she had with me and my behavior. My BF ended up telling her she needed to talk to me about that and hanging up on her. Then he told me, and I'm just furious. I don't know what to do about her. Every response I think of both seems like too much and not enough. I'm so tired of having my privacy invaded. I'm over 30 FFS. I'm sick of hearing everyone tell me what a saint my mom is and knowing they'd never believe me if I tried to tell them how she's treated me over my life. I just want to live and be left alone to find my own happiness. I could cut her out, but that means cutting out the rest of my family too. Sometimes I feel like they've built a cult based on the mythology of how wonderful my mom is, and I can see on their faces they don't really believe me when I try to give my side of the story. But also they are my family and I love them, and it would hurt to not see them anymore. So what do I do? TLDR, my mother is making me miserable and invading my privacy. Again. How do I get her to stop? First and foremost, I'm so sorry you have to put up with this. Your mom is obviously a very toxic and selfish person and you have 1000% done the right thing by removing her from your life. Second, please don't worry about this. She could have your therapist's full name, contact info, license number, and address and it wouldn't matter. You are protected completely by HIPAA and confidentiality laws. Your therapist cannot legally admit to anyone that you are even a patient of his without a written release signed by you. Even if your mother told your therapist I know your choice flounders therapist, they would only be able to tell her that they can't comment on who is or isn't a patient. Beyond that, any therapist worth their salt will be able to see right through her crap, especially your own therapist who presumably knows about your upbringing to your mom's own brand of toxicity. Lastly, I'd process this with your therapist. It's a shocking thing to hear, not to mention upsetting and invasive, and it's good to use your professional supports to process this stuff. You can get through this. Just continue to keep your mom out of your life. Yep. I work at a medical facility now, and I 110% guarantee that you're federally protected. We even had a meeting this morning on how to crack down on people pretending to be disclosed persons who are cleared to get FI from us by adding extra verifications. Unless you sign a HIPAA form that you specifically request that would allow your mother to have access to your information, your therapist cannot legally share anything you divulge to them. And even if you did, I'm not sure ethically they would feel right doing so. Talk to your therapist about how to proceed with making your mom back off. Talk to your friends and make it clear to them that you do not want them talking to your mom. Do your best to continue ignoring your mom, but you may need to get lawyers involved if she keeps on harassing you. Agreed. This behavior may be considered harassment, and a restraining order might be a helpful way to keep her out of your life. You can't, and you shouldn't try. One thing you should have learned from having a mother desperate to control you that has resulted in your almost complete estrangement from your family is this: you can't force other people to do anything they don't want to do. So abandon all hope of convincing your mother to show you respect and take responsibility for the damage she's done to you. She's never done that your entire life, so why in the world would she start now? If your home is infested by bedbugs, you don't post on the internet about how to negotiate with the bedbugs to leave you alone. They, and your mother, are forces of nature, destined to act according to their impulses and nature without fail. All you can do is manage them and contain the harm they cause. You can make it harder for them to live in your home. You can discourage them from spreading with traps and poison. You can move. You change your mattress out. You can do lots of things in your power to do, but you can't force them to march out of your home and leave you alone because you argued hard enough. Mom and her enablers need less access to your life. Is she calling your husband? Husband should block her number. Is she getting info from friendly relatives? Those relatives need to go on an information diet on your life as a matter of pure self-defense. Are your friends entertaining her bullshit and then delivering her messages to you? They aren't your friends, really. See ya. Is talking to her once a year and visiting on holidays a nightmare? Then stop touching the hot stove thinking it won't burn you this time. Can you literally not imagine a life where you cut out your mother and are not constantly seeking her validation and approval? Talk to a therapist until they've successfully extracted the brain parasite your mom implanted in you as a child to always put her happiness above your own. Again, you cannot make your mom do anything. She can't make you do anything. All you can control is yourself, and sometimes that means getting up to shut the window so the crazy people screaming outside aren't quite so loud anymore. Then stop touching the hot stove thinking it won't burn you this time. Wow. Thank you. Also, YTF does she have your friend's contact info? My mom couldn't pick my best friend out of a loop. Are you giving her this info? Your therapist is not gonna talk to your mom. That's not how it works. My partner's mom was trying to edge her way into my partner's therapy at one point, asking if they could have a joint session, asking to talk to her, etc. My partner brought this up to their therapist, and their therapist shut that shit down instantaneously and said the only way I would ever talk to your mother is if she tried to schedule an appointment for therapy for herself. And I'm not taking new patients. It's an incredibly invasive maneuver to even suggest to try to speak with someone else's therapist, and I understand your panic over it. But rest assured, it will not happen. Your therapist is not a member of your family and does not subscribe to the cult of your mother can do no wrong. Narcissism is an ugly son of a bitch to deal with. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so that you can see when I upload new daily content. Goodbye.